While the world debates whether the line will ever be built, something else is rising from the waters of the Red Sea. Not a mirrored skyscraper city. Not a desert ski resort. Something far more practical and far less discussed. A floating industrial city, shaped like an octagon, designed to become the largest floating structure ever built by humans. This is Oxagon, announced in November 2021 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Oxagon was meant to be NEOM's economic engine, the place where money would actually be made, where factories would hum, where ships would dock, where the future of manufacturing would take shape. The plan is audacious: 48 square kilometers of industrial development, half on land, half floating on the Red Sea, 90,000 residents by 2030. The world's most advanced automated port, powered entirely by renewable energy, and unlike the line, which has been scaled back from 170 kilometers to 2.4 kilometers, Oxagon is actually being built. As of late 2025, the port of NEOM has reached 68% completion. Saudi Arabia's first fully automated, remote-controlled cranes have arrived from Shanghai. The world's largest green hydrogen plant, located within Oxagon, has reached 90% completion. Real steel, real concrete, and real progress. So why does almost no one talk about it? Perhaps because Oxagon lacks the line's visual drama. Perhaps because industrial cities don't generate viral social media content. Or perhaps because the most important parts of any ambitious project are often the least glamorous. Oxagon is where NEOM's promises meet economic reality, and that story deserves to be told. The name itself contains a clue. Oxagon, a portmanteau of octagon, and the suffix suggesting something greater. 8 sides. 8 principles. According to NEOM's promotional materials: innovation, sustainability, automation, digitalization, efficiency, inclusiveness, resilience, and carbon neutrality. But the octagonal shape serves more than symbolic purposes. Traditional ports sprawl along coastlines. They consume kilometers of waterfront. They create environmental damage. They separate industrial zones from residential areas. Oxagon's designers, a consortium, including Bjarke Ingels Group, Jacobs, and Bechtel, approached the problem differently. By building outward into the sea in a compact geometric form, they could minimize coastal sprawl while maximizing operational efficiency. The floating section, planned to exceed 10 square kilometers, would contain interconnected hexagonal modules, each module dedicated to a specific function: manufacturing, research, logistics, housing, connected by small canals, cooled by the natural temperature moderation of the surrounding ocean. "We wanted to build a modern-day Venice," explained Vishal Wanchu, CEO of Oxagon and former GE executive, a floating city that doesn't have to deal with rising sea levels, or deals with it because of the way it's designed. The location matters enormously. Oxagon sits on the Red Sea, roughly 50 kilometers north of the town of Duba. 13% of global trade passes through the nearby Suez Canal. The Red Sea corridor connects Asia to Europe and Africa. Every container ship traveling between Shanghai and Rotterdam passes within sight of where Oxagon is rising. For Saudi Arabia, countries seeking to diversify beyond oil, this positioning offers something valuable: relevance in the flows of global commerce that will define the coming century. The Port of NEOM is an enabler for the entire NEOM project. Sean Kelly, managing director of the Port of NEOM, makes this point repeatedly. And he's right. Without a functioning port, nothing else at NEOM works. The next major port with global connectivity is 850 kilometers away. Every piece of equipment, every construction material, every prefabricated component, all of it must arrive by sea. The port that exists today was once Duba Port, a modest facility on the Red Sea coast. Since NEOM took control in 2022, transformation has been rapid. Belgian construction giant Besix delivered more than 4 kilometers of quay wall, 7 berths ranging from 10.5 to 18.5 meters in depth, a terminal stretching 900 meters, designed to handle 1.5 million 20-foot containers annually by 2030. In late 2025, the port conducted its first trial shipment, cargo from Egypt to Iraq, via the port of NEOM. Transit time was cut by more than 50% compared to traditional routes. The port is a catalyst for overall economic development for the northwest of the kingdom and for the broader region. Kelly stated in a video released by Oxagon, "The numbers tell a story of ambition. Initial capacity of 3.5 to 4 million TAUs by 2030. Potential expansion to 9 million TAUs, depending on growth." For comparison, Dubai's Jebel Ali Bay, region's largest port, has capacity exceeding 19 million TAUs. Oxagon isn't trying to replace Jebel Ali, it's trying to become something different. A fully automated, digitally integrated logistics hub where AI manages cargo flow, where renewable energy powers operations, and where the boundary between port and manufacturing facility dissolves. Whether this vision proves practical or merely aspirational remains to be seen. But the cranes are real. The ships are arriving, and containers are moving. If the port is Oxagon's circulatory system, the green hydrogen plant is its beating heart. An $8.4 billion investment, the largest green hydrogen facility in the world, a joint venture between NEOM, Saudi-based, a CWA Power, and American industrial gases company Air Products. As of early 2025, construction has reached 90% completion across all sites. The scale is staggering. 257 wind turbines, generating 1.6 gigawatts of clean energy. A solar farm the size of Manhattan producing 2.2 gig. A dedicated transmission grid, carrying 4 gigawatts of renewable electricity across the site. When operational, targeted for mid-2026, with first ammonia output in 2027, the facility will produce up to 600 tons of carbon-free hydrogen daily. That hydrogen will be converted into 1.2 million tons of green ammonia annually, then exported via a purpose-built jetty directly to tanker ships. Air Products has secured an exclusive 30-year offtake agreement for all the green ammonia produced. The deal locks in demand. It provides revenue certainty. It transforms a construction project into a functioning business. This is a historic moment as we drive large-scale adoption of green hydrogen as the clean solution to the world's growing energy demands, said David Edmondson, CEO of NEOM Green Hydrogen Company. At the project's financial close in May 2023, critics argued that green hydrogen remains expensive compared to fossil fuel alternatives, that the global market for green ammonia is still developing, that Saudi Arabia, the world's second-largest oil producer investing in hydrogen, represents either genuine transformation or sophisticated green. Both interpretations may contain truth. What cannot be disputed? The wind turbines are spinning, the solar panels are generating, and the hydrogen plant is nearing completion on schedule while other NEOM projects face delays and scaling back. The floating sectioned apart that would make Oxagon the largest floating structure ever built remains, as Vishal Wanchu acknowledged, in the early phases of design. Construction through 2025 has focused on the land-based components, the port, the hydrogen plant, the initial industrial zones. The Red Sea averages 500 meters in depth, wave action, while moderate, compared to open oceans, still requires sophisticated stabilization systems. Noted one analysis. Environmentalists have raised concerns about the potential ecological impact of constructing such a massive structure in the Red Sea, one of the world's most biodiverse marine environments. NEOM has not disclosed a timeline for when the floating section will begin construction. The focus remains on delivering the land-based components, the port, The hydrogen plant, the initial manufacturing facilities that can generate revenue and demonstrate capability. The floating city may come, or it may be quietly scaled back, as the line was scaled back, as Trojana's timeline has slipped. Oxagon's leaders appear to understand something important. Better to deliver what is possible than to promise what is not. In February 2025, NEOM announced a deal that revealed Oxagon's next ambition. DataVolt, a Saudi-based sustainable data center developer, signed an agreement to build a 1.5 gigawatt, net zero, AI factory campus in Oxagon. Initial investment, $5 billion. Phase 1. Operational target, 2028. The timing is deliberate. According to the International Energy Agency, data centers currently consume between 1 and 1.3% of global electricity. With generative AI's explosive growth, that percentage is expected to double by 2026 and continue climbing. Traditional data centers generate enormous carbon footprints. They require massive cooling systems. They strain electrical grids. They create tension between technological progress and climate commitments. Oxagon's proposition: build AI infrastructure in a location with abundant renewable energy, access to seawater for cooling, and no legacy grid constraints. The agreement with DataVolt highlights the potential impact of the sustainable infrastructure Oxagon offers its tenants. Side 1 it sets the foundations for the first green AI workload to come on stream in Saudi Arabia, along with the necessary computing power for regional and global impact. The data center will connect to subsea fiber cables running through the Red Sea. It will draw power from Oxagon's renewable energy grid. It will use the ocean for cooling a technique that dramatically reduces energy consumption compared to traditional air-cooled facilities. If successful, Oxagon could become something unexpected. A hub for the AI industry's most energy-intensive workloads, powered entirely by wind and sun. That's a significant if. But the vision has attracted real investment from real companies willing to stake billions on its feasibility. 6,000 workers are currently transforming this stretch of Red Sea coastline. They represent more than 55 nationalities. They work in desert heat. They build infrastructure that may define Saudi Arabia's economic future. The questions that shadow all NEOM construction apply here too. Saudi Arabia's kafala sponsorship system restricts migrant workers' freedom of movement. It ties their legal status to their employers. International human rights organizations have documented abuses across the kingdom's construction sector. NEOM included. Oxagon was built on land historically inhabited by the Hawitat tribe. At least 20,000 tribal members faced displacement. In 2020, tribal activist Abdul Rahim al-Hawaidi was killed by Saudi security forces after posting videos protesting his eviction. How can Mohammed bin Salman pretend that he cares about zero carbon when he doesn't care about his own people? Asked Dalia al-Huwaiti, a dissident member of the tribe now living in London. Oxagon's promotional materials emphasize sustainability, renewable energy, carbon neutrality, environmental responsibility, the language of ethical business. But sustainability has multiple dimensions. Environmental sustainability, social sustainability, the treatment of workers, the rights of displaced communities, the accountability of powerful institutions. These tensions are not unique to NEOM. They exist wherever ambitious development meets entrenched power structures, where global capital flows toward opportunities that local populations did not choose. Oxagon cannot be understood apart from this context. Neither can it be reduced to it. The green hydrogen plant will produce clean fuel regardless of who built it. The automated port will move cargo regardless of whose land it occupies. Technology and ethics are separate questions, even when they occur in the same place. Consider the contrast. The line was announced with a 2-minute promotional video featuring mirrors, forests, and bold claims about the future of urban living. It captured global attention. It generated millions of social media engagements. It became synonymous with Saudi Arabia's megaproject ambitions. Then came the scaling back, from 170 kilometers to 2.4 kilometers by the early 2030s. Internal audits revealing evidence of deliberate manipulation by project managers. Budget overruns that pushed estimated costs toward $8.8 trillion over decades. Oxagon took a different path. Less dramatic announcements. Port of NEOM, 68% complete. First automated cranes operational. Trial shipments underway. Green hydrogen plant, 90% complete. Wind turbines installed. First production targeted for 2026 to 2027. Data center campus. Agreements signed. Investments secured. Phase 1 timeline established. Oxagon has become emblematic of a more pragmatic approach to NEOM. Observed one industry analysis. While the line represents vision, Oxagon represents execution. This is not to say Oxagon will succeed. The floating section remains unbuilt. The 2030 targets are ambitious. Global economic conditions fluctuate. Green hydrogen markets are still developing. But Oxagon offers something the line cannot. Evidence that construction is happening, that facilities are functioning, that ships are docking, and cargo is moving. In the world of mega projects, where promises outnumber completions by orders of magnitude, this evidence matters. Vishal Wanchu frames Oxagon's purpose in transformative terms. Industrial development cannot continue at the expense of people or the environment. We're offering a compact, mixed-use city where industry, nature, and community coexist. The claim contains a genuine insight. Traditional industrial cities, the manufacturing centers, that powered the 20th century, wealth at enormous environmental cost. Pollution, carbon emissions, resource depletion, communities sacrificed for production. If manufacturing is to continue and human civilization requires that it does, it must be cleaner, more efficient, powered by renewable energy, integrated with rather than opposed to the natural environment. Oxagon represents one attempt at this reimagination, built from scratch on greenfield land, unconstrained by legacy infrastructure, designed for Industry 4.0 from the foundation up. Whether Oxagon achieves these goals, whether it becomes the blueprint for sustainable industrial development or merely another mega project that overpromised and underdelivered, cannot yet be determined. The port will open. The hydrogen will flow. The data centers will process AI workloads. These things appear likely, but the larger question remains open. Can Saudi Arabia kingdom built on fossil fuel extraction genuinely transform into a hub for a clean industry? Can a floating city rise from the Red Sea? Can economic development occur without the human costs that have accompanied it throughout history? Final frame. Oxagon construction continuing as sun sets. Oxagon does not answer these questions. It poses them, and in posing them, building infrastructure that forces the questions to be confronted. It performs a service that glossy renderings and promotional videos cannot. The octagonal city is taking shape. Steel by steel, turbine by turbine, container by container. What it becomes will depend not only on engineering and investment, but on choices that have not yet been made. The world's largest floating structure remains a vision. The world's largest green hydrogen plant is nearly complete. Both facts matter. Both deserve attention.